Hello team, today's challenge is game theory, where we're given two strings, one for player one and one for player two, and we need to decide what the points are based on that. They could plant a C for cooperate or D for defect. Those are really our only two letters, right? And then based on that, they either get 3 points if they both cooperate, 1 point if they both defect, or if one defects but the other one cooperates, then the one that defected gets 5 points, right? So there's a bit of a trick here, trying to convince them to cooperate when your plan is to defect, so you can get maximum points, right? So based on all that, we need a few things, right? We need to make sure that these strings are equal, and we need to make sure that they only have C's and D's in them. And of course, we need to tally up the points. We need a way to get the points, okay? Let's start with the points first, because that's going to be the bulk of this. So right here, I'm going to set up scoring, okay? Scoring could probably be an object, but I'm going to make it a map today. And that's because I'm going to be using numbers as keys, right? So right here, I have a 0, which is going to be a function, just like this. We can send something through. And then this one and this one, this is going to be 1, and this one is going to be -1, okay? And we can space these out to make them line up a little bit. Now for 1 and -1, we get to 1 if player 1 has defected but player 2 has cooperated. Okay, so we're going to do a compare of the C and D, and that's going to give us a 0, 1, or -1, which means that this is where player 1 has won. WON, 1, right? So for this, we should return 5 and 0. Okay, 5 being the points that player 1 gets, 0 being the points that player 2 gets. Brilliant. With -1, it's the opposite. So we can change this, if we get rid of it, to be 0 and 5, right? Because player 5 has done the thing, or sorry, player 2 has done the thing, and they get 5 points. For the 0, it means that they're the same, right? So we've done the compare, and both letters are the same, but we don't know which letter was picked. Was it C? Was it D? We can figure all that out by passing in the value of that, okay? And then over here, we test value triple equals to D, right, for defect. If they both defected, they get, that should be a question mark, just like this. If they both defected, then they get 1 point each. 1 point? I thought it was 3. Oh yeah, if they cooperate, they get 3. If they defect, they get 1 point. So I almost had it wrong, but thankfully I didn't, okay? And then, of course, if they cooperate, then they get that 3 points, so 3 and 3. I think there's a mistake in here where it is not lining up my square brackets. There it is. So here's the shape of our test data, okay? We're going to do that comparison. It's going to be 0, 1, or -1, and based on that, we are going to run this function to get the points. Did we really need a function for the bottom two? No, of course not. But in order to keep things consistent, a little bit of polymorphism happening here, we make them all functions, right? For that consistency and that ease of use. Now, down here, okay, down here is where we start doing things. So we're going to create a score. We're going to make that equal to an array that is 0 and 0. And then we do a for loop, right? So for let I equal 0 and I is less than P1, right? P1.length, sorry, just doing it, and I plus plus, okay? Why not P2? Well, in theory, by the time we get here, they should be the same. And we'll talk about that in a few seconds here. So it doesn't matter. You could use P1, P2. It should not matter when we hit this line, okay? But we do need that length so that we know how many times to loop, because we're looping over the string. We don't want to split it into an array and do stuff. We just want to compare the pieces of those strings, okay? Inside of here, we're going to do that compare. So right here, compare is going to be P1I. So now we're pulling out that individual letter, whether it's a C, whether it's a D, we're going to get that, and we are going to localeCompare, just like this, to P2I, right? So we are comparing, hopefully, apples to apples. We're comparing the exact same place in that line, okay? With that, we can get our score. So reaching up and in, we get let points. That's going to be the scoring map. And we get what? Well, we get the compare, right? Because compare, localeCompare returns exactly that. 1, -1, or 0, right? Based on whether they're the same or one is in front of the other, right? We get all that. So we can absolutely do that here. And then the final bit is to run the function. But remember, for 0, we need to pass in a value. And we absolutely can. We can go P1I just like this. Not a problem, okay? Because if it's 0 here, then P1, P2, just like up here, does not matter, right? You can pick all P2s or all P1s. It'll all work out, okay? So with that, again, we get the compare function and we run it. Is this going to be an issue for these bottom two functions? Absolutely not. We can pass random arguments in, and because we never use them, again, not a problem, okay? Not a problem at all. From here, the last thing to do is to score it out. So score 0 plus equals points 0, just like this, and then we go down here, grabbing the zeros and turning them to 1, and then down here running score just like this, and it should work. It doesn't. What did I miss? Checking really fast. P1I, localeCompare, P2I, scoring.get compare, P1I. What did I miss? Oh, you know what? They've changed things on FreeCodeCamp, okay? So one thing that, because I've already run this project, when I hit that button again, it doesn't give me the helpful message. If you really wanted to, it's going to kind of jump through hoops here, but going to today's challenge, that is game theory, then popping over here, then checking it again, getting the message. Kind of weird. I hope that they bring back this modal every time you run the test, right? Oh, now it wants to, maybe because I haven't dismissed this. Yeah, see, now it won't. It's so weird, right? But if I get rid of this, I do get the error message. If I bring that back, weirdness. So if you're seeing that, please go and check to make sure that you have all the check marks in your tests, right? At which point we can move on. And the moving on part is just to add in some tests. So to wrap this up, you've seen me do this a few times, so I'm just going to paste these in here, but we check that the lengths are the same. If they are not the same, then we throw an error. Players must have the same gameplays, right? They should be even, otherwise what's the point, okay? We also test to make sure that it is only C's and D's. This test actually tests for things that are the opposite of that. So anything that is not, right? That's what this is saying, not C and D. And we test P1, we test P2. If either of those trigger truthy, then we throw an error. Players can only cooperate or defect. And I've highlighted the C and the D, hopefully making useful error messages. Maybe, maybe not. Again, is that going to trigger? No, but over here, we still have all those check marks. So good things, okay? And in fact, if I wanted to, I could jump back and jump through all the hoops, coming over here, triggering it again, just to show that it actually works. So that brings it to a close, right? What did we do? Well, we set up some data, right? And because we're using localeCompare down here, we can actually set this up as 0, 1, or -1. We could have also had this as maybe a switch statement, right? That's an option. But I kind of like this, right? Again, it uses a little bit of a different sort of polymorphism where we're bringing in that function, whatever that function is, and we are triggering it. And because the shape of the function is always the same, it doesn't matter, right? It all works out in the end. So really cool stuff. And then tallying up the points and sending it out the door. That's the whole thing. Again, not every solution, just hopefully one good solution. I kind of like this one, but maybe you don't. If you don't, let me know what you did, right? Put that in the comments. Let me know if you liked it, if you hated it, what surprised you about it, all that good stuff. Otherwise, for today, this has been Game Theory, along with the newly updated FreeCodeCamp environment. Right, a little bit of weirdness there, but yeah, that's all there is today. So, Game Theory, and I will see you in the next one.